Okay, my friends, this is Mr. Ainsworth, and we're going to get into our activity 2B2 here, and we are going to construct some rational numbers like 3/4, 1/4, -1/4, 5/4, fourths, okay? And the techniques here are going to be a little bit different. I decided to change things up a little bit and show you a new technique, so get ready for this. And remember, it's a video, right? So with a video, you can pause and play. So if I go too fast, obviously pause the video, rewind it, and watch it again. That's an obvious thing that you could do. So here we go. Make sure you have a good compass. I use the Circle Master Compass right now. I'm going to demonstrate with that. Make sure that the pencil and the pointer are evenly matched. You can adjust it in the middle here by going making the radius larger or smaller. The distance between the pencil and the pointer is called the radius. You adjust it here. And here we go. You need a nice straight edge, so make sure you have a nice straight edge. I use clear rulers. We make a longer one right here, so just get your tools out here and get ready to rock and roll. All right, so here we go. The first thing we need to do is we need to know where 0 and 1 is. So let's put 0 here, 1 here. It doesn't matter where you put them, so just place them on the number line. Okay, and 3/4 is obviously between 0 and 1 so far, or somewhere. So this again is going to be a new construction, a new technique. There is multiple techniques. There's even more than what I'm going to demonstrate here. So keep in mind that there are many. You need to construct a transversal, which is an intersecting line through 0. So notice that I lined it up here, make it long. Okay, now we're going to call this T1 for transversal 1. T stands for transversal. That's a fancy word for an intersecting line. Okay, an intersecting line. That's all it is. It intersected the previous line, so it's called a transversal, and it went through 0 right here. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second transversal that's parallel to this one. Okay, I'm going to run it through 1. Okay, to do that requires me to construct congruent angles to this one, the angle between these two lines. To do that requires 4 arcs. So this is different, like I said, than the previous one. I'm going to switch to red just to say, oh no, I'll keep it this way. Okay, so here we go. So we pick a radius here, and don't pick it too small, but don't pick it too big either. So hold it on the pointer side. I'm bilateral, so I can use both hands. I use my left hand and my right hand, so I'm using my left hand here so to demonstrate. So construct an arc, and over here at 1 construct the same arc. Okay, so notice that I used it in my left hand, and then I switched and used it in my right hand. If you don't like doing that, obviously rotate your paper and use whatever technique you like. Okay, so I constructed 2 arcs of the same radius. Okay, so that created these 2 points, and I'm going to name them A and B just for reference because I'm teaching the lesson here. And over here I'm going to call this one C, and I got to find distance, or C, the other point, or D, the other point, excuse me, that's the same radius as the distance from A to B. Now to do that, I obviously have to adjust my compass from A to B. So let's do that. I'm going to adjust the compass from A to B. Watch me here. It's obviously too big, so you move it in. So notice that I have the radius A to B. I'm going to even draw that arc. So you can see I adjusted my compass from A to B. Move it over here. Mark it off. Construct an arc right there. Wherever the 2 arcs intersect is point D. And guess what? The distance from C to D has to be equal to A to B, because guess what? You use the same radius. Okay, so one of the key points on this construction is that AB has to be equal to CD. All right. So now we're going to get the straight edge out and line up point D with the point where 1 is. Wherever you've placed 1, line it up. And notice that we have parallel lines. Ooh. Excuse me. Okay. So what we want to do is create parallel lines. So I'm going to just show you with this parallel line maker here, just so you show it here. If I move it down here, notice that it's parallel. Okay? Parallel. So you go ahead and line them up. There we go. Oh. Well, okay, so we have two lines, and notice they are parallel. So we're going to call this one T2. So T2, T2. There we go. So we have two lines that are parallel. Yeah, there we go. So T2 right here. So T1 and T2. And T1 is parallel to T2. All right, this just symbols in geometry right here. The symbol means parallel. Okay, so that's key number 2. All right, so now what we want to do is the easy part. So I want to adjust the compass from 0 to A. So go ahead and go back to your original radius here. So if you change the radius, just go ahead and readjust it. Okay, because you changed the radius from A to B, so you might have to readjust this. I'm using 2 different compasses, so that's no problem. And I want to construct 4, so I need to construct 4 congruent arcs. So that's arc 1, and then arc 2, arc 3, and arc 4. So let's just label here. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these segments that I created are all congruent because I use the same radius. So from 0 to A, that distance is the same as from A to this point here. This next segment is the same, and the next segment is the same because I use the same radius. So all you do is take it in your other hand and you repeat it on the other transversal. So again, at D, here we go. That's arc 2. Let's see, make sure you can see this here in the video here. So starting at 1 here. And then step 2, arc 2, arc 3, arc 4. Okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and we found these points. And let me highlight the points on the line, okay, not on the arc, but on where the arc hits the line. So these are the segments that are congruent. One segment, second segment, third segment, fourth segment. Okay, and now comes the easy part. Okay, so in this part here, get your straight edge right here. You can use any straight edge you want. Okay, so put your pencil at arc 4 here, or at the 4th line here, line it up with 0. Okay, and let's draw some parallel lines. And draw them long too so you can see them. Okay, watch this. So where the points on the transversal, you're lining up the points on the transversal, and watch what's going to happen here. They're all parallel. The parallel symbol in geometry is the arrow. So all of these are parallel. They all go in the same direction. Okay, and what happened is that the segment from 0 to 1, here's 0, okay, and here's 1. Okay, that unit length right there has been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Because I asked, or I wanted to divide it up into either 3/4, 1/4, 2/4, or 5/4. So if this is the first part, this point right here where the line intersects the given line, okay, the starting line right here, that's obviously 1/4, 2/4, which is commonly known as 1/2, that's half the distance, right? And this is 3/4 here, and this is commonly known as 1 or 4/4. And if you want 5/4, like an improper fraction, no problem. There's multiple ways to do it. Okay, so let me talk about the first way. The easiest way to get 5/4, which is 1 1/4, so 1 1/4, you guys should know that 5/4 is equivalent to 1 1/4, they're equal, is to measure from 0 to 1/4, so adjust your compass so that's the length from 0 to 1/4, come over here and add it to 1. That's one way you can do it. So right here, I have 1 1/4, which is the same as 5/4. That's one way you can do it. If you want negative 1/4, by the way, all you have to do is rotate. Watch this. Go on the other side of 0. And now you're at negative 1/4. Oops, that's not, I can't see that. There you go. Okay, the other way to do it is by using the transversals. So you take this right here, and then you go, this is the second arc, that's the third arc, and this is the fourth arc. Well, you come up here and repeat it. How about the fifth arc? Repeat it, fifth arc. And then you draw another parallel line. And it better go through 1 1/4. That's pretty close. So it's a little bit off, but it's close. Yeah, it's a little bit off. Sorry, I got to be more accurate. So right there, I missed it right there. The should be a little bit more accurate. But again, you want these lines parallel. All of these lines should be parallel. So I was a little bit off right there. I should have, let me see if I... Oh yeah, so let me just correct that. So it's a teeny bit off right here. Should have been, if I lined up the straight edge correctly, it should be right about here. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, so you can get negative 1 1/2. That's no problem either. So negative 1/2. So you set your compass up to from 0 to 1/2. Go ahead and rotate. No. Go on the other side of 0. So if you're at 0 to 1/2 and you rotate, then on the other side of the 0 you're at negative 1/2. Okay, so you can get negative fractions or negative numbers. You can get improper fractions. I mean, there's many things you can do. So I don't know what you guys think about that. That's another method of getting or constructing a rational number called a fraction, like 3/4, 1/4, negative 1/4, and so on. What do you think? Do you like this method better than the previous one? I don't know. So let me demonstrate it again. But this time let's pick a different fraction so we just get some practice, right? So let's, on this one here, let's pick that different denominator, right? So let's pick 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. Okay, how about the negative? We can get negative 1/5 easy. If we can get all these, we can get the negatives. How about an improper fraction like 6/5? How about 7/5, and so on? Okay, so let's do that. So again, this is a video, right, guys? And so if I'm going too fast, obviously pause the video. Pause, play, rewind. That's your best friend. When I watch videos on my own and I learn from other people, I do the same thing. Place 0 and 1 wherever you want. If I want negative numbers, I wouldn't put 0 way over here to the left. I'd put it over here in the middle. So be careful where you put 0, because if you put it too far to the left, then the negative numbers are going to be kind of hard because they're going to be off the paper. Okay, so just be careful on that. Okay, so here we go. Same idea. So we're going to construct a transversal. The first step. Okay, we're going to call that T1 for transversal 1. That was tough. Okay, now I want to construct another transversal through 1. So just let me tell you my goal. So this is a really cool tool because it creates parallel lines really easily. But this is not allowed in constructions, okay? Only when you're drafting and you're an architect. So that's my goal. I want to go through 1 that's parallel to this line here. That's my goal. So the very first thing I'm going to do is pick a radius, any radius you want, okay? To construct a congruent angle, you construct 2 arcs, one at 0 and one at 1. Not very hard, okay? So again, this is the same procedure that I used last time. So I want AB equal to CD. So I got to find D over here. So the way I do that is I readjust my compass from A to B using either hand. It doesn't matter. Let me use it left-handed here so you can see it from A to B. You got to be really accurate here. There you go. So there's A to B. Bring it over to C and repeat. Look at that. I just repeat it. So I found D now. And if you haven't done that, rewind the video right at this point. and then practice that. Okay, so let's draw the other transversal. You gotta line up D with wherever 1 is on your number line here. Line it up, make sure you're accurate right here. This is an important step. If you're just a little bit off, like a millimeter off, which is not very much, it's like the thickness of a penny, then it's not going to be right. Let's see how accurate I am. Let's use the parallel tool. Ooh, pretty close, pretty close. Not perfect, but I'm human too, just like you guys. Alright, so that's T2. Okay, so really important. T1 is parallel to T2. Okay, important. That's another key point. That's key point number 2. Key point number 1 was that the radius from A to B is equal to C to D. That's another key point. Now I have these angles congruent, and some people were asking me like, why is that important? What's going on here? So I'm going to go back to geometry because I forgot to do this in my first construction. Okay, this right here, this angle that I'm highlighting in green, these angles are congruent because the angles, I constructed congruent angles. And I don't know if you guys remember this from geometry, but these are called alternate interior angles. And if the alternate interior angles are congruent, okay, the lines are parallel. It's a theorem in geometry. Lines are parallel. Okay, that's from geometry. So since I constructed congruent angles with the 4 arcs, T1 is parallel to T2, and now I'm ready to go. Here we go. Now if you want to use the same radius as you used before, you can. So you can adjust it from 0 to A if you want. You just got to make sure that you don't go off the page. 2, 3, 4, I may go off the page. So you're probably going to have to, I'm probably going to have to make the lines longer here. So let me see. If this happens to you, well, just get your ruler out and make them longer, right? It's no big deal. So I'm going to make mine longer because I'll use the same radius. I picked a big radius, so you're going to have to extend the lines. And you know, extend means make longer, right? It's just no big deal. So this is what I'm talking about. So let's adjust the compass again. Now you don't have to use this radius here. If you want to make it smaller, you can make it any radius you want. Okay, we're going to count up to 5. So arc 2, 3, 4. See, this is why I had to extend it. 5. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Okay, here we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you don't believe me, let's number. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's again, like I said, if you need to pause the video and rewind, listen to it, and go for it, do whatever it takes. But right now we have 2 parallel lines. We have congruent segments here, that's the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. On the other transversal, we have first segment, second segment, third segment, fourth segment, fifth segment. All right, now I'm going to draw my parallel lines. Okay, so line up the fifth one now. I'm going to use red just because it stands out, and I'm going to draw parallel lines, starting with the fifth point here and then 0. And then line up the next 2. And this right here, you have to be accurate. So go slow on this part, because if you're not accurate, it's not going to look right, and nor is it going to be right. So place your pen down. Line up the other one. And look, those all look parallel. So what I just did was I divided the segment into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 equal parts. 5 equal parts. That's the only way you're going to get fifths, right? So this point is 1/5. Second point is 2/5. Third point is 3/5. Fourth point is 4/5. And then obviously 1 is 5/5. Now if you want 6/5, which is, you're going to have to extend it. I'm going to have to extend the transversal up here. This is why I suggest you use, big piece of paper, just because it makes it easier. And then you got to go up here and you got to do it one more time, like I did on the previous construction. So now I found this point. Got to do it up here again. I got this point, and if I line those guys up, now I have 6/5, which is equal to 1 1/5. Now, if you want negative numbers, you want fractions, negative fractions, no problem. Okay, so let's go on the other side of 0. So line up your compass from 0 to 1/5. Let's get negative 1/5 first. Just go to the other side of 0. Just rotate. No, like that. All right. Show the arc, and you get negative 1/5. Look at that. That's easy. You want negative 2/5? No problem. You go 0 to 2/5. And again, pause the video. If I'm going too fast, you slow me down. You go, you pause, play, rewind. Always on. Now look what happened right there. Obviously the original number line was not long enough, right? Well, no big deal. You take your ruler out, or your straight edge. Let's call it straight edge. You extend it. All right. Now I know where negative 2/5 is. Negative 2/5. If I want negative 3/5, I would adjust my compass from 0 to 3/5 and rotate. So I can get improper fractions, I can get negative fractions, I can do whatever I want. And there we go. That's how you create fifths. And so the same method is for all the fractions. And I don't know if you guys like this better or not. All right. In the beginning, we did fourths. We constructed 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, and some negatives. On the second one, we created fifths, and then of course some negatives, and we also went improper too. Okay, improper fractions that are bigger than 1, greater than 1. Yes, we know that. Okay. All right, so again, this Mr. Ainsworth, this is not the only way. I showed 2 ways. This is the second method. This is method number 2. And guess what? There's another one too. So if you can figure out a different way to do it, go for it. I don't care. I don't care what the method is as long as it's valid. Okay? And so if you have a valid method, that's cool. So there we go. So on the left is constructing 1/4 segments. On the right is constructing 1/5. So I suggest you practice with 1/6, 1/7, and so on. And if you could do that, then you'd learn something. All right. That's long enough, guys. Now it's your turn. So practice, and I'll see you in my next lesson.